Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is such a treat. I'm telling you. Now, this award means something because it comes from you. And Sarah, thank you. And gosh, to have Frank talk about people of principle, that really means something. And then to have so many friends here that I have such high regard for, not just that. I mean, Mark Levin, we're sitting together. We just been emailing the last couple of days, but anyway, Cal Thomas, so many friends here. Thank you so much. Well, I could spend the minutes that I've been given to tell you how strong I feel about Israel and what I'm going to do and how I'm not going to let this happen and I'm not going to let this happen. I can't promise you those things. But we're on the brink of disaster in the United States. And so you know where I'm coming from. I am a Christian, and I read the Bible every day. And there's a lot of prophecy in the Bible, and I can tell you, I know I have some friends that say, oh yeah, the United States, this is their role in the end of time. I don't know if the United States is there or not. But I know the only chance the United States has of being around at the end of time is if we're the best friend Israel could have in the world. And I have looked for a verse that says those who betray Israel will be blessed. And I hadn't found it, not yet. I'm still looking. But I found the one about those who bless will be blessed. Those who betray Israel, no, I haven't found those. Those who curse Israel will be cursed. And so I'm a little concerned. Because if you go back to May of 2010, the United States started siding for the first time with Israel's enemies, demanded that they disclose all their weapons. We'd never done that before. And if you go back to Hezekiah, Isaiah, God sent Isaiah to Hezekiah and said, what have you done? He said, well, I met with all these wonderful Babylonian leaders. By the way, this is the Texas paraphrase version. But I met with all these wonderful Babylonian leaders. They were great. Oh, it was awesome. And I showed them everything in my house. I showed them everything in the treasury. And I showed them everything, all our defenses in the armory. And Isaiah said, you fool, because you've done this. You're going to lose the country. Of course, then they went on to negotiate. How about letting my sons be the one to lose? But that's a different matter. But anyway, the point is, I don't care who you are, you never show other countries all of your defenses. You don't do it. It is nonsensical if you're going to remain safe in a world where there are evil people. You don't do it. And we were going to tell Israel to do it. So that's when I thought, oh my gosh, what can we do to show the world that on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, when it comes to Israel, we'll stand with Israel. And I had this visual image. You know what? If we had both sides of the aisle standing and applauding Israel's leader, that would send an awesome word picture to the world. Hey, we may disagree, go after each other tooth and nail. So I did a letter to the Speaker Pelosi, and I tried to get as many people as I could to sign it. I got one Jewish Democratic friend to sign, but I couldn't get the others. They said they were afraid. They agreed with it, but they weren't sure that it wouldn't offend the president, so they better. So anyway, so I didn't have but one and Democrat, so I went to Pelosi on the House floor. I urged her to invite Netanyahu. It'll show the world. And she said, well, it's June. We just don't have time between now and the end of the year. And she's right. When I look back, we had a lot of courthouses to name, and we hadn't congratulated all the sports teams yet. So we had some important things to take up. But then Republicans won the majority, so I redid the letter to Speaker Boehner, the new speaker. We got tons of Republicans to sign on, and he invited Netanyahu, and he gave the best speech I've heard in the House in May of 2011. In 2011, the London Times reported on June 5th, 2011, cargo ships owned by a subsidiary of the Alpha Brothers group were being used to shuttle Israeli agents and reconnaissance equipment into Iran. According to the report, at least 8 ships belonging to companies owned by the group docked in Iranian ports to load and offload cargo. Israel made a substantive effort, aided by European countries, to slow down and hamper Iran's nuclear weapons program, and the United States outed them. 2012, it was believed that Valerie Jarrett reportedly started negotiations with Iran. That's also the year that Secretary Panetta told the Washington Post Israel was going to attack before May of that year, so Israel could not do anything to defend itself before May. Then they leaked information that Israel was going to use Azerbaijan airspace, so they couldn't use that airspace. And everybody in this administration knows that as long as they're talking to Iran, no matter how worthless the talks are, no matter how they've devolved, Israel cannot afford to attack Iran and take out their nuclear capability, because then the U.S., this administration at least, would go to the UN and agree with them that, gee, this is a dangerous rogue nation because, gee, we had a deal almost worked out. This is an affront. What's happening? It's an affront to Israel. It's wrong. It's exposing Israel to the new gas chambers called nuclear weapons. And as reference to 1939, we're there. But those gas chambers are called nuclear weapons. And by the grace of God, we cannot allow them to kill millions more Jews or anybody else. They must be stopped. So, there's so much bad news on the horizon, and Frank referenced sense of humor. Let me just finish with this. I love Justice Scalia. He has a great sense of humor, and I was having lunch with him, and we were swapping stories and matching each other one for one. But he told one, he said, now, this probably happened down in Texas back in the old days, early days of Texas, when you used to hang evil people. He said, a guy, the most evil guy anybody ever heard of, and he'd murdered, he'd done everything bad you could, and they were going to hang him on a Saturday morning. Well, everybody brought their picnic lunches, and they were out, thousands of people out in the town square. Sheriff brings him up on the gallows and then says, all right, we have a tradition here. Before we hang somebody as evil as you, we give them a chance to say something to the crowd. Would you like to do that? He said, no. He said, I don't think you understand. You're about to leave this earth, and a lot of people think maybe it'd be good before they meet their maker, maybe to apologize, ask forgiveness. You got a lot of victims' families out here. No. And from the crowd, somebody yelled out, will the gentleman yield? And he looked over the sheriff and said, I don't know what that means. The sheriff said, well, that was our congressman here, and that's Congress talk, for he wants you to give him your time to speak to the crowd. And he said, could I do that? And he said, well, I guess you could. Do you want to? He said, I sure do, on one condition. I said, what's that? He said, you hang me first. Well, my time's up. God bless you. Thank you. This means so much. Thank you so much.